how do you see the games industry developing? What do you think are the sort of key opportunities and challenges, and the things that need to kind of happen for music to really thrive in the games industry in the future? So, Alistair, first.
I guess for me, really just being as creative as possible and really pushing what we do with music. I mean, the latest thing we've just been working on for the past couple of years is the virtual reality games, and now we had to start from a blank canvas and what do we do? And there's no licensed music in what we've been doing, unfortunately, because we really kind of wanted to work closely, it's like I was saying before, with the in-house guys. But once we've got that know-how now, it's we can start working with other people, with bands and stuff, and really kind of immerse people in new worlds. Really, that's kind of where I'd like to see it going.
Okay, thank you, Lance.
I can only endorse what I just said. I think the other thing is whole PRS and streaming issue. I think, again, if I go back to my music industry or my film and TV, the guys that were actually making the programmes probably weren't the people, if I understand the situation, who had to pay the PRS. That was the point at which that particular film or piece of music was communicated to the public. So it would either be the television stations or the broadcasters or the cinemas, or it may be. The games guys, if they're going to be launching their own platforms, however, and are going to be in that space and be that point of communication to the public, they are going to find themselves in the line. And I say this knowing where I am and knowing that a lot of you guys are PRS members, and generally I think the PRS does a really great job. But I do think the PRS has got to make the case to the games industry that if this is streaming, and if it is streaming, that there is a licence to be made. I think in the past, again, it's probably a fault of the music industry generally, there has just been a bit of a temptation that if someone says it must be so, then it must be so. But I think now you're dealing with people to whom this is all going to be relatively new. It's a whole new concept, it's a whole new cost as well. And as I think we've heard today, costs are getting very, very important in games, and budgets are very important, and cash flow is very important. So I think you do need to make the case as to what the case is. I hate being, as a lawyer, suggesting that test cases are a good idea, but it may be at some point that it will be useful to have a test case in a court of law which says, yes it is, no it isn't, and then we all know where we are and we can then start to work our way around it. I'd hope we don't get to that stage. I hope actually there's a more fruitful and proactive discussion. And as I said to you earlier, I think it's a matter of hearts and minds, really. It's winning people over to the idea that actually PRS represents a good thing. It's a good thing to be paying PRS. It goes to the right people, as opposed to it being seen as a sort of quasi-tax, if you like.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, again, I think I second Alistair's view that I think VR is an incredibly exciting opportunity for how music is used, how it can even be viewed. I mean, just imagine just being able to sit in the studio whilst your favourite band is making music, and it's just an incredibly exciting future. In terms of the actual how license deals are done, I think there needs to be certain changes. I think there needs to be maybe. I think all sides need to maybe be a bit more pragmatic with how they approach it. But these are, I think, from a publishing point of view, discussions that we're very open to having.
Okay, thank you. And Nick?
I agree with Lance on lots of what he said. PRS I don't think there's a grey area or any ambiguity about whether PRS licenses are required, but it is down to PRS working with the industry to make sure that our licensing approach is appropriate, it's correct, that it makes sense, that we get buy-in from the start, and that we come up with solutions to cover this massive market that we're talking about here, whether it is the platforms, whether it's secondary exploitation on services like Twitch, or whether it's the kind of fast-moving, casual app-based market and how we do it effectively. And the second point I'd like to make is that anyone who is a PRS member or is thinking about becoming a PRS member, do join. It's much better if you're in the club than trying to deal with licensing outside of that. And if you are a member, get your registrations in and correct. It's always helpful when the kind of the back end side of things works properly. So but I think it's a huge opportunity, and it's only going to get it's going to get more interesting as we go along.